Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip Trickle Flow Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. We've got merch. That's right. Drip Trickle Flow Flood t-shirts are officially here, and they're as comfy as they are conversation starting. Grab yours at the link in our show notes. Hey,
Hi,
Tony.
Melissa.
How are you today?
Good. Can you hear me so clearly?
Yes, tell them why.
This whole time I've had a microphone, apparently the exact same microphone as Melissa, about, 6 feet away from me, and I've never plugged it in. So really stepping my game up today.
I think this is a great lesson for our listeners because you know how people will not start things, right? They won't create extra streams of income or start a side hustle or another business because they want everything to be perfect. Like, I need all the pieces in place before I do it. And I feel like this is the perfect example of, I think we're on this is episode 30 something, and maybe 34. And you went 34 episodes without having a mic.
Yeah, and it's not even that I didn't own one.
Without plugging in one.
Without plugging in one. So sorry to all the listeners that have been listening to my unclear, just been the surface microphone.
We fixed it. All right, we have a good topic today because we are in the holiday season. So we thought that it would be a good idea to talk about finances and the holidays, particularly in spending season, right? Or a season when emotions are very heightened, when people are thinking more about debt, et cetera, et cetera. Tony, where do you want to start? What are your thoughts on finances and holidays, just from a high level view?
Yeah, part of it was why I was excited about this episode is this time of year, I feel like I'm just hemorrhaging cash. It just goes out the window and in all good things and important things in life and all that stuff. But you're having more gatherings, which means often you're buying stuff to bring that only half of it gets eaten places. And then you're having people over and spending money. And it's just the time of year where there's a lot more social interaction, which seems like inevitably costs money. And you look at your statements during these months and you're like, man, oh man, how is my credit card bill so high this month? And yeah, I think that it's one of those times of year that there's already potentially some anxiety around being with all those people and spending all the extra time and commitments. And then there's the financial component that I think can hit people pretty hard.
That's a great point. I think that's a perfect segue to talking a little bit about maybe family and money boundaries or friend and money boundaries in this season of getting together and celebrating. And certainly, I don't think anyone wants to not celebrate, right? So we're not advocating for that. We're not saying shut it all down, no gifts, no celebrations. Of course not. I think the goal here is to keep the same cadence of those things, but maybe there are ways to shift things, maybe scale back a bit, or maybe set new traditions without having any type of guilt. So I get this a lot from different friends or family members where they will say, "Oh, I love seeing these people, but it costs so much money to do whatever we're doing." So maybe they all go and rent a cabin for the weekend, and then they're buying food, they're spending the money for the cabin, and it's like a big nut. Whereas they would love to spend that time with them, but with a smaller nut. What are your thoughts on that? Like setting boundaries with friends, families, or other people that you're gathering with when it comes to, I don't have a giant budget, or maybe that's not exactly where I want to put my budget, but I don't want to lose out on spending time with those folks.
Yeah, I think the FOMO is real, that they are important times a year, but I think, I don't know, last year, I feel like a lot of what we do is you get together, everybody sits around, and you eat and you drink and open presents or whatever the things are. Last year I went online and found all these different games that people were playing. And I went to a drugstore, Rite Aid or something, and was able to get some keg cups and some whatever. And for $35. We had a blast just playing these funny games, trying to pick up cotton balls with chopsticks and things like that. And so I think there are other ways to have fun without having to. It reminds me of this like Friends episode where everybody's, oh, well, let's go and do something like really nice. And three of the friends like weren't making much money, and three of the friends were making a lot of money. And there was just like this tension in the group that was formed over this finances. And so I just think it is a very real thing, but I remembering that the point is to get together and have fun more than you got to just go spend a bunch. And again, spending money is fine if that's what you want to do and everybody's on the same page, that's great. But I also think just understanding that you're you're probably not alone, or just being aware that, and maybe you are the person that's comfortable spending the money, but there might be other people that you're hanging out with that aren't.
That's a great point. I love the games idea. Of course, you would have the games idea. That makes complete sense. That's a really fun and easy way for people to go online and find activities. There's like physical games. I know a friend of mine would play like this story game where she would put like words in a bowl called like Story Bowl, I think. And then you like pick a word out. Everybody has to pick a word out, and then they have to tell a story about that word, like, on the spot, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be some, like, Game of Thrones level story. It can be this, and usually they end up being, like, really silly or fun stories. So there's lots of cool games like that, and then along those lines, I think there's also a lot of creativity that can be done around gifts. So years ago, when Gary and I were in our 20s, and I don't really remember what our financial situation was at that time. I think it was fine, but we were also like very conscious of we have a lot of people to buy for, and like it just felt a little transactional, right? It's oh, I like just get me a pot holder. Show me this. It didn't feel like anybody really, if somebody really craved something, that's one thing. But it was more of a situation where we were like, yeah, I don't really know what I want. Or, yeah, I guess you could just get me this. There wasn't a lot of excitement. What we did was we put together a little list for every single person, three things that we love about them. And then we like put them in little frames and gave them. And it sounds so cheesy, but everyone loved them so much that people still talk about them. And it's now nearly like 20 years later. It was,
Uh,
like, everyone's favorite gift.
okay, I didn't see the episode going this way, and I'm not sure if my brother's a regular listener or not. But one year he shows up, and he had given everybody a recording of him playing the harmonica.
Oh,
Dominic, if you're listening, thoughtful. He's not quite on the professional level of harmonica playing. It was really it was really funny.
like a custom song for everyone?
I can't actually remember. I don't know if I have the CD lying around anywhere or not. But yeah, but yeah, I think all those things are good, right? Because to talk about is these different things, because I think there is a lot of anxiety this time of year about finances, of just how do I provide that perfect holiday, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, just like that perfect image in the mind of what it's supposed to be. And then, especially if there's kids involved, making sure that you're making them give them the vision that they want. And I know that there's a lot of stress around that, and everything is really expensive right now. It's an expensive time just as far as wages to cost right now in the United States. And I think people need to understand that they're not alone, and getting creative is probably a good option. And again, just like we talk about with some of this stuff is, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was the last episode or a couple episodes ago where we were talking about people with financial anxiety.
Yeah.
And there was that article we were talking about, and or financial concerns. And again, I think this is one of those same situations where more than likely a higher percentage of the population than you think is having the same concerns as you are. And so it's okay to have those conversations with friends and family and come up with creative ways to alleviate that pressure.
Yes. And I think setting those boundaries, saying, "I love you, and I'm being mindful of my budget and my energy this year." So I won't be able to participate in this, or I would love to propose that we do this. I know it's different from what we've done before. I hope that you understand. So I think sometimes just having that little script ready is good because there is a lot of pressure, not just societal pressure, but like within the family or friend group pressure, because maybe you're the one that wants things to shift and others don't. So I think you made a good point earlier, Tony, that it's also about us being mindful of maybe we don't need things to shift this holiday, but others in our group do. So it can be that lovely sense of, hey, maybe let me open my eyes and see what's going on here. And is there another way that we can celebrate that doesn't leave us with like a giant December debt hangover?
Yeah, and I think just being aware of that, even if you are in a financially strong point and you're comfortable and everything, it's still not great in January to look at your statement from December and November and whatever and just be like, "Oh my gosh, what did I spend all that money on?" It's one of those pieces that it's you can go negative or come off your plan very well. As easy as it's is to come off your dietary plans during this time of year, the financial piece is just as easy to stray from. And just keeping that focus, and I think just being intentional about how you're spending and what you're doing and not necessarily just buying to buy is a good way to go into it. And I think if you do it that way, the gifts that you are giving or the events that you're attending or hosting or whatever can maybe feel more meaningful than if it's all right. I swung by the grocery store and I picked up gift cards for all these different places. If it's something that a little more thoughtful, probably people are going to remember that more than the gift card they get and I don't know, probably lose.
That's true. Unless it's something, a gift card to a place that they genuinely love and you know that they're going to go every day. There are lots of other options. I think this is also a good time of year where if you are someone who budgets, then great. If you're somebody who doesn't generally do a budget or follow a budget every month, this can actually be the perfect testing ground for that because you can just create a budget around holiday gifting and celebrating. You can just make it specific to that so it's like a piece, maybe set like a holiday baseline. So that's not just saying, here's this $500 I have to spend, just picking any amount. It's more, here's what I actually value spending money on versus defaulting to societal or familial pressure, right? So I think entering the budgeting phase with that in mind, where it's like, what do I really want to do? How do I wanna celebrate? What is the reasoning behind the gifting? Is it just a transactional thing, like you said, just tossing a gift card at something? Or is it like, how do I wanna really celebrate this person that I'm gifting? And is this the way I wanna do it? And is money even really the factor here? Is there, like, another way that I can celebrate them? I think maybe creating some kind of holiday baseline would help. Thinking of it as like joy dollars, right? Like when you're going to spend the money, like you're spending it on the joy versus on obligation. And then you can avoid that January credit card statement that you'll get for December. That's what did I do? Because at least the holiday spending was all written out by you. You could do that in a notebook, in a spreadsheet, whatever. Everybody has their own ways of doing it. Some people use like cash envelopes. I know I see that a lot on social media. So again, it's really dependent on the person, but I think that can be a great way to do it. When I was younger, I feel like I remember doing that, or at least my parents doing that. Like they had an envelope just for Christmas. It was like, this is what we have for Christmas. And then just being like very intentional of this is what's for Christmas and this is what we're going to do for Christmas. And then that's it. So
Yeah, and I think that's great. And now if you're the person that's been planning for whatever the upcoming holiday is since July and this is your thing, then let it be your thing. Again, I don't think there's any we're not saying don't spend, we're saying just be aware of how you're spending. A couple of pretty fun ideas that sound pretty inexpensive. One, where here's I think I was in the dental chair actually. So it might have been the hygienist telling this story or something. But the there with I don't know if it's her friend or who's it doesn't matter. But they're gonna have it is whatever their child's favorite food is. So it's gonna be like macaroni and cheese and peanut butter sandwiches. Have to assume there's gonna be some dino nuggets in there. And it's that kind of a thing, which sounds like a really fun way to do it. And that's gonna be inexpensive and the kids will be happy. And then another thing, my mother-in-law does this. She does the elf dinner. And so it's pasta, but in addition to some marinara on the table, there's chocolate sauce, there's M&Ms, there's all the things.
Ew.
And again, it's not an expensive thing to put on, and it's a blast from the youngest kids in the family to my wife's grandma who's in the 90s. Everybody just thinks it's a riot. And I have to say, the chocolate sauce on the pasta isn't as bad as you might think.
That's a really cute idea.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
We don't do anything like that. That is fun. Our thing on Thanksgiving, though, is which this episode will come out after Thanksgiving, but on Thanksgiving every year we just do side dish Thanksgiving because we like the side dishes way better. So
Yeah.
just making all the cheap and we do the cheap ones like the not on purpose. That's just because we genuinely enjoy the cheap ones, like the corn jiffy corn souffle and the string bean or green bean casserole. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I like the sides too. And this is going to be a controversial statement. I get some messages, but I've always been a strong proponent of ham on Thanksgiving as
I
opposed to
like it
turkey.
too. I like
I
whole
I, I don't think I've ever won. My mom is turkey and mashed potatoes a lady. That's what we have, but I can always go for a ham in exchange.
you guys can come over here. We always do. We do ham instead of turkey, mostly because Gary and I are too lazy to make a turkey, but we genuinely it's too much work. But also, I just think personally ham tastes I like the taste of ham better.
Yeah, I do too.
But oh yeah, we're gonna get hate. We'll get hate messages.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanksgiving hate. Another angle to this whole thing is because right now we're talking about saving and budgeting and being very conscious with what when you do spend. There's also, I think, the other side of this, which is like the abundance that can happen around holidays. So, to me, there's two angles here. One is how can you use this downtime, which is not downtime for everyone, but if you do have some downtime, if you do have some time off, like how can that create abundance for you? Maybe that's having some money conversations. Maybe that's like visioning and planning for the new year or what are some holiday earning opportunities, right? Are there any cool ways that you can add an extra income stream for the holidays if that feels aligned for you?
yeah, I've been seeing. We went to a holiday market last weekend, and and I've been seeing on the social media all these different markets that are coming up and people that I know that are selling. So for some people, this could be a boom of income. And obviously, that means they're probably working pretty hard right now. Good opportunity, though, to take advantage of people out spending and doing all that. So if you're a creative person, I think right now, photographers and people like that are probably or potentially making a good percentage of their annual income over the next 6 weeks or whatever. And I think that also leads into what's your take on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, shop local? I don't know which day of the week that is. There's all the different things and there's all these enticing pieces. Amazon's got lightning deals going, I don't know, probably for the next month or something. And do you wait for times this time of year to take advantage of those deals? Do you impulse buy because, the algorithm knows what you want more than you know what you want? Or do you just resist?
I don't do much impulse. I'm not an impulse person. I feel like I'm too skeptical to be an impulse person. I'm always like
We we we
analyzing
we
everything.
we differ in that way, Melissa. They know what I want. I click.
I'm not a big impulse buyer personally. I will say though, I do tend to like all of my subscriptions, so mainly for business. So like a Zoom subscription, a right. I study all of my business subscriptions and I look to see if they're holding any Black Friday deals. And if they are, that tends to be when I buy something. So I try to like line all of that up so that I'm capitalizing on those things. Or if there's something I've been wanting to invest in, that's generally the time that I'm going to do it. And then the same thing with household stuff. Yeah. If there's something that we use all the time, for us, it's coffee. I'll do like bulk buys of coffee because we're going to go through it very fast. And if it's a great deal, then I'll grab it. So I'm pretty intentional personally about those things. I think that is a smart way to go about it for folks out there, though, is especially for subscriptions and things that tend to be sometimes slashed even in half this time of year. Try to line that up for yourself, particularly for your business, because a lot of these things can be really great deals. What about you? I know you do impulse buying, but
I do impulse buying. I actually, maybe this will be a future guest. I actually bought a yard game the other day off of Etsy, and I got the nicest note. I was the first purchaser ever of this yard game. And
that's so sweet. But
yeah,
see,
so I'm
that's like supporting a small business. So I feel like that's has a beautiful quality to it.
and he like gave me his personal phone number. I'm gonna give him a call and be like, guess what? I'm gonna put you on my website.
You're like, I have a podcast. Would you like?
yeah. So we're gonna blow James up. So no, I am somewhat strategic. We need a TV for an Airbnb. I actually just bought that this morning. I was waiting for the deals to start hitting. We need a rug for that also. We're expanding. There's a cabin on the property that we just finished remodeling, so we're now outfitting it. I did for a while when I was had a membership at a rock climbing gym. They always did a Black Friday deal and I would get my thing then. But no, I hadn't even thought of like the annual subscriptions. That's super smart because I don't know how many of those I have, a ton, and they just happen whenever they happen. So I think that's a great tip. Yeah. No, I'm not good about it. And I will definitely get sucked in. And they tell me when the things that are on my wish list are on sale. And next thing you know, Lindsay's asking me what's in the box at the front door. And
I love that you're the impulse buyer in the household. That's very interesting. It is a good time for certain things, like electronics would be another example. And here's another tip for everybody. So I just completely overhauled my whole electronic suite. So my laptop, my phone, I got all brand new stuff at back to school time because
mm,
they were running a crazy deal at Best Buy. So this time of year, clearly also a great time to look for those types of things. And the hope is that those things don't need to be upgraded that often. I kept mine for quite a long time before I upgraded, but it is really nice to have upgraded stuff. It works so much better.
yeah, yeah, I think it's been good. It seems like this conversation went not exactly how I was envisioning when we brought up this topic, but I think the takeaways are is be conscious about how you're spending this time of year. If you have a business or a side hustle that, you know, can do well this time of year, make hay while the sun shines. And if you want to just impulse buy and spend and go for it, then you can deal with the self-loathing and the aftermath in January.
Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you next time on Drip Trickle Flow Flood.